Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a repotting video, except not in the traditional sense. I am going to be repotting, or just potting up to begin with, a Begonia propagation. It was a water propagation. This is one of the ones that has a plant growing out of the leaf base, as well as the leaf petiole, the leaf stem. Lots of plants, little plantlets going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to plant this in soil. I'm not going to plant this in perlite. And I'm also not going to plant this in lava rock or leca. I am planting this in polyester yarn. I have my yarn soaking here. It's the little chains that I had posted a video about a few months back. And this is going to be the vessel. It's kind of like a glass, not a fish bowl, but I guess it's kind of like a bowl, spherical kind of thing. And it's going to look really cool because I know that the colors on this begonia, when it gets a lot of sun, will be very red. Red with kind of like a black center. I don't know if it's Red Robin. I can't remember what the name was. It came with no ID, but when I looked at it on the internet, I found what it was, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway, so very, very easy. First thing you do is you take out, or what I do, because nobody has to do this, I just enjoy this a lot. As you can see, well, you can't really see, but let me move the camera. There are a lot of plants growing back there in the polyester yarn, and they're doing very, very well. What I like about this particular yarn is there's a bunch of different colors that I mixed together. So I'm going to put the red towards the top so that when the leaves turn red on the Rex Begonia, it'll kind of match, even though the colors are just all over the place here. It's going to look interesting. Anyway, so let me take out my propagation. Oh God, I hope I don't lose some of these leaves because they've grown kind of big in here. I'm trying to be gentle. Ah, good. Wow, look at this. Look at all of those babies. They're just growing everywhere. And then I got this one up here. So funny. I think it's so hysterical when that happens. It's going to look so interesting. But anyway, all right, here we go. I'm just going to make a kind of hole in here and make sure the roots are down in the yarn. Make it nice and snug, like so. And I want to see how much. There isn't really any water at the bottom, so I'm going to add some extra water. Since this plant is used to being in water, I want to make sure that there is, okay, it's about halfway full of water, which I think is good enough. And voila. This is going to be so interesting. I really can't wait to see how this fills out, because all the other plants that I have in polyester yarn are doing extremely well. Almost every cutting that I've put into yarn has survived and rooted and grown. It's interesting because there are a lot of cuttings that I put into perlite. Some took and they rooted, others didn't. Same thing with lava rock. Lava rock seems to be the most successful to date, but I think that the yarn is pushing the lava rock out of the way because it's just doing so well. This one is growing very, very fast now. This is a coleus. I believe this is wasabi, and the roots are all over the place, growing like crazy. You can see them all. But the plant is thriving, and I started giving this one some feed, some hydroponic nutrients, and it is starting to take off. So very exciting. This was a new cutting that I had just put in. I thought I saw roots. Oh yeah, at the very bottom. You can't see. I don't want to turn it upside down because you'll I'll dump all the water out. But this one, Albrido, started to get roots as well. I've been experimenting with a lot of different plants. Oh, there's one I want to show you. Hold on. This is something that originally was in water, and I moved it to the polyester yarn, and get a load of this. Okay, it's in the yarn, but look at how well it's doing in the polyester yarn. It is really thriving. This is a Tradescantia baby bunny bellies. So it has the really soft, furry leaves. On top it's dark green, underside it's purple. And so I used green, purple, and white yarn. And the plant is doing great. There's no signs of it drying out, no signs of any rot. And the plant has been growing, and it's turning up towards the light. It's doing really well. I wish I could put this somewhere where you could see like the whole thing, but can't really see it. Anyway, Tradescantia, another plant that is doing extremely well in the yarn culture, yarn propagation, whatever you want to call it. Yarn hydroponics, I don't even know. But anyway, really, really cool. So just to recap, what I also have here is, aside from the begonias, I have a whole bunch of coleus. I also have, actually, let me take the camera off so I can move around and show you. I also have some baby spider plants growing in here with another Tradescantia. This is another type of coleus. It's been in there for a very long time. It was neglected, but it's starting to bounce back because I'm watering it and feeding it regularly. Coleus, a bunch of coleus. This one's really cool. This is a kiwi fern, and because there's a lot of purple on the leaves, I used purple yarn. Really cool. Another one there. These are all coleus. This is a small, I think I've shown you guys this before, snake plant, bird's nest. Peperomia. This was a little baby propagation. It's doing well in the yarn. And, well, I guess that's it in this area. I don't feel like bringing you around to show you every single thing. But anyway, very excited to see how these go. This is another Rex Begonia that I had put, a propagation I had put into yarn. And doing well, growing new leaves. It's starting to get tall. I think it's going to start growing out of this container, at least, above the lip, which will be nice to see. I may have to transplant this into something bigger with some more yarn, but I'm going to keep all these in yarn. Everything that I have in yarn right now, I'm going to keep, because until and unless it shows any sign of decline for any reason, I am just going to keep it growing. I've already had, like this one in particular has been in here for months. It kind of stunted and stopped growing because I had it all the way in the back over there, and it stopped, and I forgot to water it. So the yarn was getting kind of dry and crusty. So I said, let me bring this one back. So luckily it didn't die. It just wilted a few times, and eventually it bounced back, grew new roots. But I just think this is the coolest thing. And the fact that it's been in here for months is another thing that, that's what made me say, hey, it's so much easier to do because, and let me explain my thought process. When you have the perlite, let's say, this coleus cutting in perlite, or you have the lava rock, or even leca, which I have back there with the Rex Begonia in there, and a pothos. You just have to make sure that there's always a reservoir, because those mediums don't really hold on to a lot of water. It doesn't saturate, and you need that reservoir to keep the plant hydrated. With the yarn, it holds so much moisture, but the way that I construct the chains, instead of it just being plain old yarn stuffed in a container, the way that I do the chains, there are a lot of air pockets in there that keep oxygenating the roots, a lot of air flow that the roots have access to the air, and it holds on to a lot of water as well, which is kind of interesting. It's almost like a better sphagnum moss because it doesn't rot or break down. But it holds a lot of moisture, and it also has pockets of air because of the way that I do the chains. So these plants, I mean, I have not had any issues to date at this point. A lot of these are fairly new, except for, let's see, this one here, the coleus, and then I have a pothos here. This is a cutting, also neglected. I showed this in the previous video, or recent video. But yeah, they're doing so well, and it started out as just a 1 or 2 plant experiment that has now spanned across a whole bunch of different plants, different cuttings, and different plant types, because I want to see if there is a plant maybe that won't do well in this kind of setup. But here's another snake plant doing well in the yarn. Really cool. You can see these cuttings just look very healthy. They don't look weak or sad. Most of these that you see here are fresh or recent cuttings. I don't want to say fresh. That's why they're so small. They're not, they were just tip cuttings I took from the plants and put them in the yarn. This one here is, like I said, the oldest, but you could see this was a cutting, and you could see how tall it's grown just being in the yarn in these last few months. But of course, it probably would be a lot fuller if I took better care of it, which I am now, I promise. Yeah.